I hate to say this, comic fam, but a lot of you are buying the wrong comic books.
You should already know what's up with this book, and if you don't, you're either not subscribed or you're not paying attention.
We go over the hottest comic books in the world every single week, so no excuses. Slap the button and listen closely. Number 10 on the list, Strange Adventures 205 from 1967, the first appearance of Dead Man. We know that James Mangold's going to do a Swamp Thing movie. It's one of the first announcements that James Gunn made in his new DC universe. You think he's not going to then do John Constantine? You think we're not going to get a Zatanna? You think we're not going to get Dead Man?
Now, Dead Man is not a household name, which is probably why a lot of collectors are sleeping on this book. But while people are sleeping, investors are creeping. James Gunn was spotted reading a DC Presents 2 with that classic Dead Man cover. And while most collectors are out there buying Wolverine 1 and New Mutants 98, look what they're spending on Strange Adventures 205. A CGC 2.5 up 4%. A 5.5 is up 9%. The 6.0 is up 10%. The 7.0 is up 23%. And the 7.5 just clocked in a year-high sale of $1,100, 32% above its 12-month average.
If you're unfamiliar with Dead Man, do yourself a solid. Pick up Night Terrors from the last summer's DC crossover event leading Dead Man. You're going to love it. There's some really good Mignola Dead Man out there. I digress, because if I find this book and it's affordable, I'm going to be buying it. So you're going to be competing with me. Ryan, I may have overdone it. I'm just gonna say it right now. I have never made more comics for a convention in my career. Every box you see here is a San Diego Comic-Con drop. But here's the thing, I don't have to travel with them because we sell on Whatnot. I'm flying down to San Diego Comic-Con. We're gonna be streaming all weekend long on the best app to buy and sell collectibles. I teamed up with Marvel, of course. I also teamed up with DC. That's the first appearance of Lobo. This is our book. We wrote this.
We did.
It's an ASM 300 homage. Boys #1, lots of other books. Bookmark the stream, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time this Friday. I'm headlining a show and I want you there. Link in the description, link in the comments.
You gotta slow down. You gotta remind people what Whatnot is. What if they don't know?
Good point, Ryan. It's essentially a convention on your phone. You just join me on a stream. You'll be in the chat. I'll be chatting with you. We'll be talking comics, not spoiling Deadpool Wolverine, but I'm gonna see it at the convention. And I'm gonna list books. We're gonna auction books. I'm gonna be hunting for San Diego exclusives for you. And if you use my link in the description, you get a $15 credit that you can use on your first purchase. San Diego Comic-Con exclusives can get kind of expensive. I'm gonna help out a little bit by listing all of these that you see here in the Buy It Now for $15, so you can get them for free. We have Omega Man 3, the first appearance of Lobo by Javon Jordan. That is a Kanto Virgin variant. That is a Star Wars High Republic foil Empire Strikes Back variant. Are they worth $15? No, they're worth more, but I'm listing them for $15 so you can use that credit and get a free San Diego Comic-Con variant on me. I'll see you in the stream. Let's get back to the video.
Every week, we seem to see one of these books creeping up on the list, whether it's a classic Neil Adams, Batman, or Joker key. Number 9, we have Batman 227 from 1970, the homage to the classic Detective Comics cover.
Classic Neil Adams with some record-breaking sales. Jem, we have talked about so many DC keys for no reason beyond the fact that they're awesome. You got to assume that these are going into personal collections a lot of the time, because there's not a whole lot of mainstream reasons for these books to not only trend higher than their recent 12-month average. Keep in mind, a book landing on our list needs to have 3 different sales to outdo that 12-month average to land on our top 10. Well, these books have been coming and going, and it has to be for a good reason. And the safest books are the ones that are going to remain dormant in long boxes.
Yeah, these are the books that are not really affected by what's going on in outside media. Sure, we do have the Batman 2 in the works. We've got the James Gunn universe, but that's not why collectors are picking up this book. This is one of those perpetually relevant books, and you can see it with the sales. The 8.0 up 22%, the 9.0 is up 16%, and like Tom said, we've got record breakers on this key issue.
The 3.5 sold for $464 back in 2022 at its height, up 6% this week, now selling for $494. The 3.5 is going to break $500. 7.0 heights reached in 2022, selling for $1,100, up 9%, shattering the record, now selling for $1,200. We've been talking about Batman 251. You know, the classic Joker cover, it hit the list back in March. Do you think people are buying Neil Adams keys that are that expensive because of a Joaquin Phoenix movie that's coming out? I don't think so. You think they're buying Joker ones because of that movie? Maybe in lower grade, but in 9.8, probably not.
Yeah, we've got Batman 189 hit the list back in March, the first Silver Age appearance of Scarecrow. Back in February, Batman 423 made the list, the classic Todd McFarlane cover. It also hit the list the week prior to that.
And if you're saying, oh, well, these are all really major keys, Tom, people are specking, I don't think so, because look at this. Batman 244 even made the list, and this is just a classic battle between Batman and Ra's al Ghul. You think people are specking on Ra's al Ghul minor keys?
Basically, what we're saying is you got to keep an eye on those underrated DC keys that aren't blowing up because of some big movie or television show. They're just sought after from collectors.
If you do not have Key Collector Comics, or if you are not paying for the full service of Key Collector Comics, this is the week to do it. Use code TOM101 to unlock a free 2-week subscription of the app. It is San Diego Comic-Con weekend. Hall H is back open. There's going to be major DC Marvel news dropping, and it's going to spike a tremendous amount of comics. And if you are waiting for it to hit mainstream, you're going to be too late. Number 8 on the list. Oh, we got a full reveal, but no reveal. And Gem Mint, you're wrong. I disagree with you. Deadpool Merc with a Mouth, issue number 7, the first appearance of Lady Deadpool.
We got the bust reveal on one of the prior trailers, and with the most recent trailer, we see the full reveal of Lady Deadpool, except she's wearing a mask, and I still say it's Blake Lively under that mask.
I still remain hopeful. I still think it's Taylor Swift. There was too much Taylor Swift buzz as it pertains to this movie for her not to be in it, and I do not think Dazzler is a big enough character for her to be.
But Lady Deadpool is? There's no way. I think, if anything, it could be Blake's body, but they superimpose Ryan's head on there via CGI. That would be the funniest. But by the time this video comes out, the movie will be out, so we'll know who was wrong, who was right, or who totally was off base. Either way, we have this comic book selling. The 9.4 has a year-high sale of $202. That's 32% above its 12-month average, and 5 9.4s outperformed that 12-month average this week alone. Then we've got the CGC 9.8 also clocked in a year-high sale, $450, and 5 copies also outperformed.
The second printing 9.8 sold for $575 for another year-high sale. That's an increase of 38%. And the 9.6 standard had a record-breaking sale, last selling in 2022 for $279, up 5%, now selling for $293. I understand, Jem. Blake Lively was seen on the red carpet. She looks like she's kind of hinting that she has worn a superhero suit before with the dress that she wore. However, let's not forget Taylor Swift was seen at a football game with Sean Levy, Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman. Let's not forget that she dressed up as Deadpool before in a Halloween costume. I still think it's fair play.
Tom, your argument is flimsy at best. Let's move on to the next book. And all I want to know is who the is buying this book?
Number 7 on the list is Conan the Barbarian, issue number 1. No mainstream news, not even a Red Sonja trailer. And keep in mind, the Red Sonja trailer was seen publicly in a private showing a year ago at San Diego Comic-Con, and they've never released it. But Key Collector Comics dove into the numbers because this book is too intriguing to pass up. It keeps making the list.
And if it seems like we've been talking about this book a lot recently, it's the 6th time that it's made the Hot 10 list. And basically every grade from 6.0 to 9.2 is on pace to outsell previous year units by 3 times.
That is a whole lot of units moving with no real reason to spec on the book besides maybe price adjustment. But keep in mind, the last 9.8 sale was dangerously close to the real highest sale that's ever recorded for Conan 1, selling at $7,800. And that didn't happen during the comic boom. No, that happened June of this year, damn it. And let's keep going, because if you negate the comic boom, if you look at prices from 2019 across all grades, this book is performing by 2x. The 5.5 is up 17%, 6.5 4%, 7.06%, 7.5 28%, 9.07%, 9.6 sold for $36.05 for an increase of 13%. That's a whole lot of sales, comic fam. Why? Who's buying this? If you're buying Conan 1, let us know in the comment section below. Help your fellow comic fam members, because clearly you know something that we don't.
And I know I poke fun at this book and who could be possibly buying it, but I understand that Conan has a huge cult following. People grew up with the movies, grew up with this comic book, and it's super affordable for a blue chip key.
We don't agree on a lot, Jem. I think it makes our videos a little spicy. But we agree on this one. This next comic book, to me, is the best book to put money down on as it pertains to investment if you are speccing on Deadpool Wolverine.
The 6th book on the list is Iron Fist 14. It's the first appearance of Sabretooth, and yeah, I agree. I think this is the only key out of all the books that are spiking due to this movie that's going to have legs after the movie.
4.0 had a year-high sale, up 20%. The 5.0 had a year-high sale this past week, up 49%. The 9.0 had a year-high sale this week, up 24%. The 9.2 had a sale for $811, and that's up 17%. And people who are buying this book now know what to expect as it pertains to Sabretooth. They're not buying it because they think the book's going to go down. Not when you can get a 9.8 hovering around $3,000 for a book that came out in 1977.
Most of the Deadpool and Wolverine books that have been spiking have already been cooling down, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. But this one, we still have X-Men 97 Season 2 to look forward to, and the X-Men in the MCU.
Going from one comic book that I think is incredibly safe and worth your consideration to buy so close to the movie, to another that I think is officially toast.
Number 5 on the list is the first appearance of Deadpool and New Mutants 98, and we tried to warn collectors not to pay $1,500 and above for the 9.8. The 12-month average is sitting at $1,330, and the last GPA sale is $1,100. After this movie comes and goes, this could be a sub-$1,000 book.
Although we're not provided pictures, so we can't confirm, according to GPA, this year, some members have spent over $1,700, over $2,000 on a direct market 9.8 New Mutants 98. Also, this year, 2 different people purchased the same book for under $1,000. This comic, although is high up on our list because of quantities sold, and many above their 12-month average, in the last 2 weeks, during the ramp-up towards the movie, while this book gets hotter and hotter, we have had 0 9.8 sales to report on. Not that they're not selling, because people are getting 9.8s. They're just not tracking higher than the recent 12-month average, which is what actually gets reported on in our videos. It's only lower grade copies.
Specifically, no new sales on the CGC 9.8 direct copy. We have the 9.4, though, up 12%, with 3 copies outperforming the 12-month average. The 9.6 is up 7%, with 4 copies outperforming. And we did get a newsstand CGC 9.8, somebody trying to snag one before the movie drops, selling for $2,650 for a 3% increase.
40 new slabs have been registered on the CGC census in the last 14 days. Let that one sink in. Also, we're seeing review commentators starting to say that they have seen the movie and that it's the best MCU movie to date, like of all time, and that you should be very cautious on social media. So hit the like and subscribe, but then probably wean off until after the weekend. And damn it, you need to go see Deadpool Wolverine. I know I am.
I already know I'm going to get spoiled. But this right here might be the most important comic book news that we've received all year that will have a direct impact towards prices.
Number 4 on the list, Giant Size X-Men. Number 1, the first appearance of the new team. Yes, the 9.9 sale has adjusted the floor of this book, and we are seeing a plethora of sales. Let's get to it so that we can break some news here. The 1.5 is up 11%, 3.0 17%, 5.0 8%, 6.0 9%, 9.0 sold for $4,800. That's a lot of cheddar, up 5%. And the 9.6 just sold for $11,300 for an increase of 15%.
Tom just rattled off over $22,000 in sales for books that were performing stronger than their 12-month average. That's not even counting books that sold but went for less. Now, here's the thing. Kevin Feige was recently asked about mutants in the MCU, and here's what he had to say. Now that we have the characters from the X-Men world and the mutants that we haven't had access to before, I think it's the beginning of that. And everything post-Deadpool and Wolverine will be the mutant era coming into the MCU.
Let that sink in, comic fam. Because the last era of superheroes was Avengers. There's no arguing that. Iron Man, maybe. And the next era we were going to reflect on, and we are going to think of mutants. What is that going to do to comic books?
This statement gives me hope. I mean, just think about what Feige did with the Avengers, who were not popular at the time. Now getting a franchise who has enormous popularity over the last decades, I just hope they stick the landing with the mutants.
The era has already begun.
If you want to buy this comic book because you think it's cool, which it is, by all means, go ahead, but it's got to be the worst time to buy it for investment purposes.
Number 3 on the list, Frank Miller Goodness, Wolverine #1 from 1982. First solo Wolverine title. I love this book. The census count has exploded. The movie is too soon. People are spending way too much money on a comic book. Do you remember the days that this used to be a $300 to a $350 book, Jem?
That's what makes it hard for me to collect key issues in 2024. I think about the good old days when this was a $350 book in 9.8. And man, could it be that again?
With the anticipation of the movie this next weekend, there's a lot of high-performing sales, but just wait till we get to that 9.8 to prove our point. The 8.5 had 3 copies outsell the recent 12-month average, the highest for 150 for an increase of 32%. The 9.2 clocked in a year-high sale, up 56%, selling for $260. The 9.4 sold for a height of 210 this past week for an increase of 9%. 3 copies outsold that 12-month average. Shout out Madam Web. And the newsstand 9.4 sold for $275, an increase of 12%. And 3 copies outperformed the 12-month average. That's a whole lot of sales.
And just to take a step back, when you see the 9.2 selling for more than the 9.4, it's an indication that people are just rapidly buying this up, not really looking at the past sales in other grades. The CGC 9.6 is up 42%, and the 9.8 did have a high sale at $650 this week, which is the 12-month average. However, look at the last GPA sale. $526, getting oh so close to that $350.
There was a newsstand 9.8 selling for $14.10 this past week. That's an increase of 14%. Are we wrong? Argue with us in the comment section below, because I think this is a book you gotta wait till after the movie. Despite Hugh Jackman kind of alluding by avoiding the answer that he's gonna reprise the role again.
Well, at this point, he can no longer say he's retired as Wolverine. This has got to be the second, at least, time that he said he wouldn't reprise the role, and he's been back.
I'm just going to come out and say it. I think the comic fam are buying this next book too soon. At the list of number 2, Hulk #1. The first appearance on cover of Red Hulk. I think people forgot, Jem, that this movie is supposed to be shit.
But what did I say the whole time? You really needed Red Hulk to save this movie, and I disagree with you. Totally. I think it's too late to buy this book. If you wanted to buy this on a spec play, you had to pick this up when we knew Harrison Ford was going to play General Ross, that the potential for Red Hulk to be on screen was there. But by now, we've already seen it.
At best, you got to be hoping for the same thing to happen to what's going on with New Mutants 98, what's going on with Wolverine #1, that as we approach the movie, the books are going to kind of peter out because the census count is going to explode. By the way, there's only 6 new Slavs that have been registered on the census since we chatted about this book last. Yeah, it's been a little over a week since that trailer dropped. That's because everyone submitted their books. Just wait a little bit, guys, because this census is about to explode. There's a flood coming.
The CGC 9.0 had a year-high sale of $119, putting it 63% above its 12-month average. 3 9.2s outperformed, including a year-high sale of $165. That's a 70% increase. 3 copies of the 9.4 did the same thing, with the highest coming in at $151. Again, less than the 9.2, still giving it a year-high sale for an increase of 45%. Then we've got some newsstand love, that same grade, the 9.4, selling for $410 for a 31% increase.
Someone paid like $260 more for a book in the same grade at a 9.4. Clearly, this is a crack, press, and regrade play, or someone's just not cut up on their newsstands. I hate when people overpay for newsstands at 9.4 or 9.6 unless they're risking it to try to get that grade bump.
Yeah, that newsstand effect used to only pertain to the 9.8s, and I think it was around the comic boom when we started to see the lower grades benefit. But to your point, maybe they're going to try to crack it, press it, and get a 9.8 out of it. The direct market 9.6 is up 44%, 6 copies outperforming the 12-month average. The 9.8 had 14 copies outperform its 12-month average, the highest coming in at $390 for a year-high sale and a 51% increase.
I mean, these are reasonable sales to expect. We saw Red Hulk in the trailer, but take a look at the 9.8 12-month average, 262. The last GPA set was 383, and neither New Mutants 98 or Wolverine 1 are keeping up with that recent 12-month average. Do you think that Red Hulk will?
The Ancuna 1 out of 20 ratio in 9.8 is up 12%. The Ed McGuinness 9.8 variant is up 18%, selling for $565. That's the highest out of all these variants so far. The Heroes Initiative variant in a 9.8 is up 22%. And the Dynamic Forces, shout out Nick Barucci, 9.8 sold for $250 for a 16% increase.
There's been an increase of copies sold of 533%, so clearly the trailer edit was great. Red Hulk is exciting, but we've known this was going to happen for a long time. Let's not forget that this movie isn't out for 7 more months, and that it's had so many reshoots because those who were previewed to it early thought it was terrible. Like one of the worst MCU movies that they had ever seen.
Hopefully the reshoots did it some justice and we got more of a focus on the Red Hulk aspect. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're here every single week for you guys as we move on to the hottest comic book in the world.
I love the #1 hottest book in the world. It's a kid's book. It's tough as hell. I think it's underpriced, but I'm just not sure, and I have to know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. I'm conflicted. #1 on the list is Batman Adventures #12, the first appearance of Harley Quinn.
They had a live 24-hour countdown for the most recent trailer that dropped, and it finally came out this morning. Now, I like Gaga, but what does she know about cameras?
I don't know, Jam. I'm conflicted. I wasn't a big fan of the first Joker movie, but Lady Gaga has been featured in this trailer heavily, and she looks like she hits it out of the park. I'm actually excited now, and I think people are agreeing with me. However, the sales we're about to report on happened over this last week. It had no bearing on the comic sales.
Yeah, so if anything, we got to keep an eye on BA12 to see what it does next week, because this week, before the trailer, we had a newsstand 6.0 sell for $355, a 14% increase. The 7.5 direct market had a year-high sale of $514 for a 21% increase. The 9.0 is holding strong at its 12-month average, just like the 9.2. The 9.4 is up 8%, and the 9.6 sold for $1,039 for a 20% increase.
This book at 9.8 has been struggling. Keep in mind, the peaks were over $4,000. The average is $2,180, and the last sale was $1,950. That seems like this book is down, doesn't it? Like it feels like this book is worth more than $2,000. I have 9.8s, and I'm getting more offers on this book than I have all year long, and I keep having to decline them. Sorry to the members who are trying to get my 9.8 Harley Quinn. It's uncirculated, and I just don't want to sell it for this price. It feels undervalued. But since we chatted about this book last, 7 months ago, there's been an increase in census count across all grades of 429. And that includes 64 new 9.4s, 81 new 9.6s, and 61 new 9.8s.
Well, the movie comes out in October. It's the Joker sequel. It heavily features Harley Quinn. This is her first comic book appearance. It makes sense why we're seeing it on the Hot 10 list. But yeah, man, that 9.8 is struggling.
Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Should I have sold my book now? Should you wait till after the movie? Could it drop even further? I'll see you at San Diego Comic-Con. And as always,
Geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
enough said.